Welcome to this edition of GameSpotTV. I'm Adam Sessler, and in today's Spotlight, we explore the world of hunting sims. Originally commissioned by Walmart to sell to gun enthusiasts, Deer Hunter became a top-grossing game in the U.S. and spawned a plethora of other hunting titles. So why are these games so popular? Believe it or not, PC hunting simulations are a multi-million-dollar phenomenon. Started by the now infamous Deer Hunter PC game, The Scent of Green has attracted a flock of game companies to develop for the genre. This trend has left many game editors scratching their heads in disbelief, including video games editor Ryan McDonald, who says the success of Deer Hunter is not rocket science.
There was a bunch of reasons. One was it was only $20, and it could run virtually on any computer you had, just as long as it had a CD-ROM. Also, they had the best retail outlet for it. They had it sitting right up there on the Walmart gun rack. It was sitting right there, and it was $20. How could you pass it up?
Rated as a $65 million market and with 15 million potential buyers, game publishing giants such as Electronic Arts and Activision have packed their 4x4s to join the hunt.
Oh boy, I missed that one big.
Continuing with the series, Wizard Works has released Deer Hunter 3: The Legend Continues. With the new 3D facelift, cyber hunters can tackle the wild in Missouri and Utah. Players will have access to a bevy of firearms and bows, as well as decoys and hunting equipment. Activision and the hunting experts at Cabela plan to net players with Big Game Hunter 3. The series' association with Cabela gives it a leg up through Cabela's popularity and equipment catalog. Using full-motion video clips, players can hunt 11 big game animals, from bighorn sheep to black bears. Crawling from behind, Electronic Arts released their first PC hunting sim, Deer Hunt Challenge. The game giant set its game apart by offering both a simulation and somewhat of an arcade challenge mode for players looking for instant action. But beyond the exotic locations and authentic firearms, the genre's main focus is the realism of the hunt. From animal movements to behavior patterns, the games have to mirror real-life situations.
If you don't have the right boots, for example, and it rains, your feet will get wet, and you'll have to go back to the camp or the tent and actually get the right boots that will shorten your hunting trip. Just everything that you would have to think about in an actual hunt, you have to think about in Cabela's.
Not surprisingly, the quest for realism has brought unwelcome criticism. Animal rights organizations such as the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals strongly oppose hunting simulations, believing that hunting sims trivialize the reality of killing animals for sport. The game companies deny these allegations and say that the titles are not about blood and gore, but teaching hunting rules and safety.
Deer Hunt Challenge and EA Sports wants to promote safe hunting techniques. And so if, for example, you are shooting at a doe, it's not in season, or at a fawn, it will fail you on that level, and there's no reward for that.
There are well over millions of hunters in the United States, and that's who we cater to. And people who are anti-hunting, again, we just don't get involved in that because it's a much broader issue than just actual playing. I mean, in the end, on our game, it's a computer game.
Oh boy, I missed that one big.
This controversy doesn't seem to affect sales. The hunting sim genre seems to be on track and on target. What does the future hold?
You can only go so far with hunting, but I guess you can only go so far with anything. So basically, you can get it to where it's photorealistic, and the graphics get better, and they understand how the deer behave better. And I think they'll reach a point, just like anything. I think it'll keep going until somebody stops buying it.
And as an added note, if you feel sorry for the deer, there is a game out there that gives you a slightly different perspective. It's Deer Avenger, where you play Bambo, a deer with a big gun and a grudge against humans. So now, let's check the game news. Epic Games will be releasing a free expansion pack for Unreal Tournament. Epic programmer Brandon Green Marine Reinhardt reports that the finishing touches are being applied to the pack that includes new models, maps, and runes. Epic will not be selling the add-on in stores and can instead be downloaded from their website. A recent study has concluded that computer games are not responsible for prompting people to act violently or aggressively. The 4-year study conducted by the Australian government was commissioned to seek out the effects of video and computer games on people for censorship purposes. Through direct observation, interviews, and focus groups, researchers examined the reactions and feelings of over 1,300 Australians playing arcade games. While slightly aggressive behavior was found in about 3% of those examined, most people had a sense of satisfaction and joy by learning skills needed to succeed in a game. Researchers also stated that the games aided in the development of coordination and analytic skills in children.
If you're looking for the latest news from the gaming world, go to the GameSpot.com website. And if you'd like to see our Spotlight feature on hunting sims again, come to the GameSpot.TV website, where you'll find it in real video. And while you're there, go to our message boards and tell us how you feel about the genre. Do you think it's just harmless fun, or perhaps you're a vegetarian and find the genre rather distasteful? Here's a good place for you to vent.
Coming up on GameSpot TV, we review Planescape Torment, an RPG for the PC where you play a character who has had many lives, but must piece together his past in agonizing glimpses. And we go underground in our review of Urban Chaos, a third-person action shooter set in a dystopian universe full of thugs, gangbangers, and kung fu call girls.
Welcome back. Planescape Torment is a PC RPG about a man who has lived thousands of lives, yet can only glimpse his past in bits and pieces. And as you might expect, he's having a rather hard time unraveling who he is. Set in the Dungeons & Dragons universe of Planescape, Planescape Torment is well worth having a look at.
Planescape Torment from Black Isle Studios is a traditional role-playing game with an uncommonly detailed story and first-rate graphics and sound. The game is set in the complex and interesting advanced Dungeons & Dragons universe of Planescape, a patchwork of wildly different dimensions surrounding a sprawling city that connects them all together. Torment uses the same graphics engine as Baldur's Gate. However, the game's top-down isometric perspective is much closer to the ground than Baldur's Gate, which means all the characters appear quite large on screen. Each character is carefully animated and cleverly designed. The game has a consistently cold look that can even be unsettling and uncomfortable at times, but the bleak environments work to motivate the protagonist's desire to escape from the claustrophobic confines of the city of Sigil. To allow for Torment's bigger characters, most of the game's interface is invisible until you right-click to bring up the circular pop-up window that lets you use items and cast spells, among other actions. Torment is a long and involving game with an original plot, well-written dialogue, and likable characters. It's fortunate that the game's dialogue reads well because there's a lot of it. And although the graphics are evocative and often beautiful, the game's most vivid events are actually written out rather than shown on screen. Planescape Torment is clearly the best traditional computer game to come out of 1999 and is bound to become an all-time favorite for many gamers. Greg Kasavan of GameSpot.com gives Planescape Torment a rating of 9 out of 10.
Aspirin won't help that. But there are some other games that by title alone I'm tempted to dismiss. A game called Urban Chaos either makes me think of a late Charles Bronson movie or My Apartment. But as I learned, you can't judge a game by its name alone.
Urban Chaos is an attempt to meld the side-scrolling arcade beat-em-ups such as Double Dragon and Final Fight with a modern third-person action game. It involves a trek across a metropolitan dystopia, baseball bats and life bars, and the experiment works. The game takes place in Union City, where a gang of thugs called the Wildcats are running rampant through the streets. Of course, you find yourself in the dramatic position of being rookie cop Darcy Stern, who must uncover the Wildcats' devious plot and take them down. This takes the form of a series of assignments to be performed at various locations in Union City. None of the objectives are time-sensitive, allowing you the opportunity to explore the sections of Union City and discover skill-building bonuses. As you can imagine, most missions involve a lot of hand-to-hand combat. The developers have designed an excellent system for fighting multiple opponents in 3D. Combat is initiated when moving within range of an enemy, and a life bar appears and you are locked in until someone is subdued. As you can imagine, a gamepad is necessary to control all your moves effectively. The graphics in the game are incredible. The textures, architecture, smoke, and lighting effects do an admirable job of making you feel as if you're heroically wandering around your city. What's even more appealing in the end is that Urban Chaos is a third-person action game without switch flipping, box pushing, or key finding. making that reason enough to purchase it. That it's funny, gorgeous, and even tactical makes it a must for anyone that can enjoy mindless console system action. Eric Wolpaw of GameSpot.com gives it an 8.3 out of 10.
Why can't I be a fireman?
Kids, whiners can't be firemen. It's a fact. Look it up. This next preview is important in two ways. It's one of the bigger games to come out for the Dreamcast in way too long, and it's going to keep me from wasting my quarters at the arcade. It's Crazy Taxi.
One of the types of games that Sega has been best known for in arcades are racing games. Outrun and Daytona USA are two examples of their fast, graphic-intensive racers. And now one of the latest arcade titles, Crazy Taxi, is about to hit the Dreamcast with a host of new additions over traditional racers. In Crazy Taxi, you are no longer restricted by a course or someone else's finish line. All you have to respect is the ever-diminishing clock as you try to get your passengers where they need to go, even if that means jumping fences or running lights. This game is all about mayhem. The many passengers you pick up will offer varying amounts of dough, depending on how far they need to go. So you need to keep in mind your time and the desires of your victims, passengers. Crazy Taxi is visually stunning as you careen through a highly detailed city at 60 frames per second without any pop-up. The art in the game has a distinct hardcore look to it and was designed by the same crew that brought out Sega's Top Skater. The music is also appropriately chosen, with such bands as The Offspring and Bad Religion providing the soundtrack. Crazy Taxi will come with an original mode, like Sega's Bass Fishing and House of the Dead 2. The Crazy Box mode puts you in different minigames that challenge you to complete various objectives. The game is set to arrive at the beginning of February and looks like one of those much-needed titles to give the jolt of energy to the Dreamcast.
Wow, it's just crazy. Well, you know, I always wanted to be Travis Bickle. Anyway, if you want to see that preview again, just go to our website and watch the streaming video clip. And while you're there, find out how to send us a V-mail. Send us your tips, cheats, or do a quick review of your favorite video game. And if we use your V-mail on the show, we'll send you a nifty GameSpot TV t-shirt.
Coming up on GameSpot TV, it's over from Japan. We have the preview of Resident Evil Code Veronica, the gore game where you get to send the undead back to their graves. And if you're a fan of the Colony Wars series, stick around for our preview of Colony Wars Red Sun. It has more epic action, more weapons, and 5 entire solar systems to blow things up in.
Welcome back. Now, while Crazy Taxi is just about to arrive in the Dreamcast, another even bigger game is waiting in the wings. It's Resident Evil Code Veronica. And if you saw last week's show, you did watch last week's show, didn't you? Well, then you probably want to see more. Here you go.
Resident Evil Code Veronica takes place 3 months after the events of Resident Evil 2. Once again, playing Claire Redfield, you attempt to fly off to Europe to investigate the disappearance of your brother Chris. Unfortunately, though not too surprisingly anymore, things don't work out all that easily, as she is abducted and taken to a tropical island where some familiar rotting friends start showing up. The game will ship on 2 GD-ROMs and will feature a slightly modified version of the zapping system from Resident Evil 2. Players can play as different characters for each disc, with each character's story intertwining with the other. The 2 characters will be Claire and her brother Chris. The game will cover 10 major areas and will be 1.5 to 2 times longer than Resident Evil 3. New features in the game will be the ability to hold a weapon in each hand and shoot at 1 or 2 separate targets. As is pretty evident, the graphics are stunning. All the backgrounds are done in full polygons, allowing the camera to move with the action. Code Veronica also makes use of the special effects of the Dreamcast hardware, like dramatic lighting and shadow and characters with skin, so you don't see the jagged polygon edges. When gunshots are fired, the blast actually affects the lighting. Once again, the always important sound effects are back in necessary form, making anyone feel right at home, albeit a really unpleasant and frightening home, just how we like it. Look for Resident Evil Code Veronica later this year.
You know, the graphic capabilities of the Dreamcast just make flesh-eating zombies look so good. It just makes you wonder. And now if you're a fan of deep space and alien worlds, this next game may be just what you're looking for. It's the latest installment in the Colony Wars series, and it's called Red Sun. Here's the preview.
The new Colony Wars installment, Colony Wars Red Sun, will boast improved textures, a soundtrack performed by a live orchestra, 30 new weapons, 8 fully customizable ships, 5 entire solar systems, and more of that dramatic full-motion video that provide the epic cinematic tone to the series. In this new version, you aren't part of the League or the Navy. Instead, you play Valdemar, free man and space pilot that bears some similarities to Han Solo.
Valdemar, God almighty.
How then does this work in a mission-based military campaign? Well, as a mercenary, your allegiances are part of your own self-interest. The game will build upon the dynamic mission tree structure from the second game, Vengeance, where divergent paths will result in different endings. In Red Sun, you may side with the Navy, with the League, or neither. The game is still mission-based and boasts a whopping 50 missions, but the overall directives will be more open-ended. So you may wonder, will Psygnosis go all the way to allow those most shrewd space cowboys to play both sides against the middle? We'll discover the game's pompatus of love when it hits the shelves this spring.
Now, leaving the realms of deep space, we step into the Nordic past to join a Viking chap in the up-and-coming PC title Rune. This is a third-person adventure using the Unreal Engine, and when I saw it for the first time, it looked clearly to be a promising title. Here's a preview.
If all of Wagner's Ring Cycle can't satiate your need for classic Nordic excitement, then the very impressive-looking Rune from developer Epic Games and Human Head Studios might be your own private Valhalla. In the game, you play Ragnar, a Viking lad who is about to take that fateful journey into manhood and rightfully proclaim himself as warrior of the village. The remarkable look of the game is due to the use of the Unreal Engine. Plus, skeletal modeling for both characters and objects will lend a greater physical realism to the environment. Furthermore, the control scheme for the game could be the best yet for a third-person adventure on the PC. Using a setup similar to a first-person shooter, the game seems set to overcome one of the greatest flaws in most games of this type. Options to plant the camera at one point to explore a room and to adjust the distance from the character using the mouse wheel should go a long way to avoiding disgusted abandonment on the part of the player. Look for Rune later this year.
If you'd like to find out more about the upcoming gathering of developers titled Rune, go to our website at ZDTV, where you'll find the streaming video. And check out our preview of Resident Evil Code Veronica. Not only do we have the preview, but we also have the intro, which is very impressive. And while you're browsing our site, click on our spy cam and check out and see what the GameSpotTV minions are up to.
Coming up on GameSpotTV, they're just good old boys with a bad guy car and they have themselves their own PlayStation title. We have the intro. And we have a strategy guide for one of the best platformers ever made for the N64. It's Donkey Kong, and we have the tips that will keep you from monkeying around.
Welcome back. Now, this next theme song is likely to ring a bell, though the game itself got gonged due to a lot of bugs. But we thought the intro was pretty hilarious, and we just had to show it to you. Well, that brings back memories when Gary Coleman made me laugh and Green Machines got me where I needed to go. Now, getting somewhere in Donkey Kong 64 can be more difficult because there's no green machines and it's really, really big. So here's a few tips to help keep your knuckles dragging a little less.
Due to its immense size, Donkey Kong 64 is one of those games that can be very daunting, especially when it comes to finding all there is to find and defeating all there is to defeat. These tips will hopefully assist in this sometimes helpless abyss. I call it my 7 strategic steps to Donkey Kong success. The first tip seems obvious enough, but is often overlooked when playing console games. Turn up the sound on your television. Nearly every important item and location in the game makes a different kind of sound. So learn the sounds and follow them. They will undoubtedly lead you to something you've missed. 2. Due to the camera and controls, using Diddy Kong's jetpack can be extremely frustrating. To aid in this aviary debacle, here is a tip. Don't throttle and turn at the same time. Just turn, head in the direction you want to go, then throttle. And instead of slamming on the gas, simply tap the throttle for better control, keeping the camera in line. 3. It's sometimes difficult to get through the giant levels in Donkey Kong 64. One way to know if you've explored an area is if you find bananas or balloons lying around. If you see a banana, keep going. You've probably overlooked this part of the level. 4. One key part of finding all the booty in DK64 is to use the banana ports wisely. If you find one that isn't working, you know you need to keep exploring the level to find the other one. Also, be sure to use all the Kongs in all the banana ports, as in later levels, there are areas that can only be accessed through them. 5. This can be a lifesaver. If you find yourself running low on health, simply find a character switch barrel, enter it, and even if you haven't switched Kongs, you will have replenished your melons. It's a cheap fix, but worth it. 6. Blowing up balloons to procure their bountiful bananas is done best by shooting it at the end of its trail, while it pauses to turn back the other way. For circular path balloons and other flying objects, fix your sight on the path and wait, sniper style. And finally, strategic tip number 7. Don't choke when it comes to beating the bosses. Like most computer-generated, artificially learned creatures, the bosses in DK64 have movement patterns that are predictable. So, instead of freaking out and mashing your buttons till your thumb calluses, you must be at one with the boss. Read slowly, observe, then attack. I call this the Sessler method. So remember, listen closely, finesse the throttle, use the banana ports wisely, manage your melons, bust the balloons, and last but not least, use the Sessler method.
Yeah, some say the Sessler method's a myth, but hey, I know. If you want to see the Donkey Kong 64 strategy guide again, go to the Game Help section of our website, where you'll find it in streaming video, along with hundreds of tips and cheat codes to help you with your game. And if you're thinking of rushing out and buying the Dukes of Hazzard title, we recommend that you wait until you see our review on next week's show. And if you can't wait till next week's show, join us in our chat session Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, and I'll give you my personal opinion on the Dukes of Hazzard and any other game you want to ask me about. So until then, bye-bye.